Okay, so you've definitely heard the hype, right? Blockchain is going to change everything. Finance, art, the internet as we know it, the whole shebang. But you know, behind all that noise, there's this growing group of skeptics. I'm talking top computer scientists and economists who are raising some serious questions. Today, we're going to dive into their side of the story to really understand the other side of the coin.
So let's just kick things off with the most fundamental question of all. It's the one that honestly almost always gets skipped in the mad rush to build the next big thing. And that question is simply this: do you actually need a blockchain for what you're trying to do? Seriously, before we get lost in all the jargon and the tech, this is the very first hurdle you gotta clear. And it turns out Vinton Cerf, one of the literal fathers of the internet, he has a pretty clear answer for us. This brilliant little flowchart he shared pretty much says it all. You start with the question, do I need a blockchain? And the answer 99% of the time is just no. For most things, a good old-fashioned database is faster, way cheaper, and a whole lot more efficient.
So if the technology itself is often a solution looking for a problem, where does all this intense passion come from? Well, to get that, we have to look at the political ideology that's really the engine behind so much of the crypto world.
And this slide really nails that core conflict. On one side, you've got this crypto-anarchist ideal. It's all about a deep, deep distrust of big institutions like banks and governments. The goal is total anonymity and total freedom. But then on the other side, you've got the skeptics. And they point out, hey, those institutions, they provide things we kinda need, like healthcare and security. And most of us agree that maybe some freedoms, like trading illegal stuff, should probably have some limits for the good of everyone.
The whole dream, the ultimate goal of this ideology, is decentralization. But here's the great irony, the big paradox. It turns out there are these powerful, almost natural forces that are constantly pulling these supposedly decentralized systems right back towards the center. Computer scientist David Rosenthal, he puts it pretty bluntly. He argues that peer-to-peer systems, which are the bedrock of blockchain, don't just risk becoming centralized. He says they inevitably trend towards it. And his reason isn't some philosophical thing, it's pure economics. So, check this out. This slide lays it out perfectly. To keep a blockchain fair and secure, your income has to be linear. You do twice the work, you get twice the reward. Simple enough? But here's the catch. Your costs are not linear. Because of economies of scale, it's way cheaper for a massive Bitcoin mining operation to run per unit than it is for some small-time person in their garage. So what's the inevitable result? The big guys get bigger. And over time, a handful of powerful players end up dominating the network, which, leads you right back to centralization. But it's not just about the economics. Moxie Marlinspike, he's the creator of the super secure messaging app Signal. He points to a much more human reason for all of this: plain old convenience. And his point is just spot on, isn't it? At the end of the day, we're always going to choose the simple, easy path. I mean, think about it. Do you host your own email server? No way, you use Gmail. We don't host our own websites, we use Squarespace. It's just easier. And in the crypto world, the exact same thing is happening. People aren't trying to deal directly with the blockchain, it's complicated. Instead, they're flocking to easy-to-use, centralized services like Coinbase and OpenSea, which just end up becoming the new middlemen they were trying to get rid of. Okay, this brings us to the next major critique, and it's a big one: governance. Blockchains are often sold to us as being more democratic, but are they really? So to really get the problem here, you first have to understand something called a Sybil attack. Basically, in a system where anyone can join, what stops one person from just creating a million fake accounts to outvote everybody else? It's a huge problem for any decentralized democracy. Now, blockchains have two main ways of trying to solve this. You've got proof of work, like in Bitcoin, where power is based on computing power. You could call it one hash, one vote. And then you've got proof of stake, where power is based on how many coins you own. Basically, one coin, one vote. But wait a minute. Do you see the common thread here? Both of these solutions tie your voting power directly to your financial resources. Whether you're buying a warehouse full of mining rigs or just buying up a ton of coins, the more money you have, the more power you have. The conclusion is kind of inescapable. These systems don't create a democracy, they create a plutocracy, government by the rich. Okay, so the decentralization is shaky, and the governance looks a lot like rule by the rich. But what about its main job as a new kind of money? Well, here too, we run into a deep internal conflict.
So most cryptocurrencies are designed to be deflationary.
That means their value is supposed to go up over time. Now, that makes them a really attractive investment, right? It encourages you to buy in and hodl, hold on for dear life. But this creates a massive problem. I mean, think about it. Why would you ever spend $1 today if you truly believe it's going to be worth $2 tomorrow? You wouldn't.
And that is the core paradox. A good currency needs to be stable. It needs to encourage spending to keep an economy moving. A good investment is something you hang on to, hoping its value skyrockets. The very thing that makes a cryptocurrency a successful investment makes it a terrible, terrible currency.
All right, so we've waded through all the big theoretical critiques. Now let's get practical. The fact that this whole space is so unregulated has made it an absolute breeding ground for scams. So what are the red flags you should be looking for?
Let's look at a few of the classics. The rug pull is pretty much what it sounds like. Developers hype up a project, get a ton of people to invest, and then, poof, they disappear with all the money. Then there's wash trading, where someone basically buys and sells an asset to themselves over and over again to create fake hype and make it look popular. And of course, a lot of these projects are just greater fool schemes. They're basically Ponzi schemes that need new investors to pay off the old ones. And mathematically, they are all guaranteed to collapse eventually.
And, beyond the scams themselves, you gotta watch how the community acts. Is any little bit of criticism immediately shot down and labeled as FUD? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Is there this constant pressure to recruit your friends and family, to bring in fresh money? Does the actual business plan seem, like it makes no sense at all? These are huge, giant, flashing red flags.
And this pressure is baked right into the language they use. All these phrases like hodl, diamond hands, and that nasty little taunt, have fun staying poor, they aren't just silly memes, they are powerful social tools. They're designed to create this intense, almost cult-like atmosphere where selling is seen as a betrayal, and holding on, no matter what, is a sign of loyalty.
Which brings us to the final and maybe most provocative question. When you really look at the fragile decentralization, the plutocratic governance, that investment versus currency paradox, and this whole culture that seems to be filled with scams and red flags, you kind of have to ask yourself, are we looking at the future of finance here? Or are most of these projects just really elaborate schemes looking for the next greater fool? The debate is far from over, but it's a question worth asking.